Cancer. Welcome to your May 2020 Astro Update. It's Raina here. I was compiling this list and I'm looking at some of these transits for you in May. And it's almost like, thinking of what is happening to us as a collective. I was remarking in recent videos that it feels like a retrograde situation since March, like kind of being stuck in place. And I realize that there are definitely people who have never stopped working, who have, life has gone on, albeit in a different sense, but they have just kept with their work and being very active. But for a lot of us, this is not the case. And in May, there are 3 retrogrades that we have to take note of. But the reason I'm speaking specifically of Cancer is because you have planets going into the 12th house, and this is kind of setting the stage for your solar return coming in June, and it's going to come in with a bang actually, because not only are you going to have the sun go into your sign, and of course your solar return will be your actual birthday or the degree of whatever your sun sign is. It might not be on the exact same day, but I'm talking about June being a banner month for you because you have the sun going into Cancer, I believe on the 20th, and the summer solstice, that's when the summer solstice is, and the very next day within hours we have the solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Cancer. So that's a new moon, on steroids right after that. So this is the prelude to that in May. And so when the sun goes into your 12th house, as it will on the 20th of May, you may start to feel this sense of going inward. But I wonder if that's already the case, because as the month begins, you have you have the sun and Mercury in this very social sector, which is the 11th house, which deals with the people that you're friends with and the people that you connect with as a group. And even the internet can be the 11th house, connecting electronically. And so you may be very social in that sense, but then Mercury goes into the 12th house on the 11th, and you start to become more, your thoughts become more dreamy, more otherworldly. It's not about communicating to others, as in friends and associates. It's about tapping into your own, maybe even like past lives, dream time, what have you, and being very intuitive, which you already are, being a Cancer. So it's like more of that. It's a water house, Pisces, the 12th house. And the sun will follow suit on the 20th in that house. But we have a full moon at 18 degrees of Scorpio on the 7th. So as I record this, I am recording this late, which is pretty... I'm having some issues with some tech issues with uploading videos at the moment. My home internet is out, and so I'm going to have to find some way to upload these. The phone isn't cutting it, so this is one of those situations, like I said, where everything feels kind of like stuck in place, even though it's not a retrograde, and, tech issues and things like that. So, sorry for the late upload, but, and hopefully I can do it today. I'm really hoping. And it's the 5th, and so this full moon is happening in 2 days in Scorpio, fellow water signs. So I think that for water signs to have a full moon in water is kind of like coming home. It's not, for other signs it might be a little bit more... hard to kind of navigate. The person can feel really maybe at odds with themselves, but I think that you will like it. And for you, this is in the fifth house. Now, I will say that for some of you who are born towards the late part of the sign of Cancer, the last 10 degrees or so, this will actually be falling in your fourth house of home and family. And so, and that can be more of a domestic thing. You rule the fourth house. So for those people who are in the last decan at 10 degrees of Cancer, you having this in your fourth house can bring some kind of issue that's on the domestic side to culmination, including your relationship with your mother. And it'd be interesting to know how many Cancers have issues with their mother on the negative side, where they don't get along, because I usually think of Cancer as a sign that really tends to have harmony with their families. But I'm sure that's not the case. Of course, it's not the case 100%, but I'm wondering if it's more the case than not that they would have that kind of harmony, because, since you rule this house, you may tend to respect her position on life, whereas other people might be more rebellious, is what I'm trying to get at. But even there's certain circumstances where this just won't be the case, and this may be exactly what you have to do, that you don't have a choice, where something comes to a head. This can also be just learning something, about her, like news about her, finding out about her. This could have to do with your childhood. Anything fourth house can be like letting go of something, perhaps some emotional baggage from this area of life. It can be very good. I mean, maybe you're selling a house, something domestic that is either coming to culmination, coming to an end, a peak, a crisis point, whatever, that's domestic. But for the rest of you, it's in the fifth house. And if you're dating somebody, this may be the time where you say, look, buddy, or look, sis, I'm done with, this has been fun, having fun, because the fifth house is pleasure, fun and games, that sort of thing, dating. But you know what? I need a commitment, so what do you say? Where you're just kind of like, okay, now it's time to move to the next level of this relationship. You could discover that somebody that is in your immediate, associations, that you have feelings for them. Maybe it's a friend. Certainly with this energy in the 11th house, this may be the case where somebody that you're getting involved with, it's like, wow, this person's, I think I'm really in love with this person, and I thought it was just kind of like we were just friends. Things like that, and that's kind of interesting. If you're an artist, this is great for creative inspiration. Maybe you're finishing a creative project. On the 11th, Mercury goes into that 12th house, as I already stated, and we have, on the same day, Saturn going retrograde, 1 degree of Aquarius. This is the 8th house. Now, important to note, this is going to be temporary. Saturn's going back into Capricorn at the beginning of July, and that means that you're going to experience a lot of the influence in your 7th house rather than the 8th house this year. And for some of you, this is always going to be in the 7th house based upon your particular degree. It's not going to go into the 8th at all this year. So, in the 8th house, I have a whole video on that, so please check that out on my channel. Check my playlists. Sometimes they don't all get put on the playlist by accident, or whatever. So you can just type it into my channel. But I have like Saturn It's not for retrogrades, though. It's just for the track. I should have included the retrograde period, but I didn't. It was just like Saturn going into what Saturn means going into Aquarius for Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising. Which, by the way, this video is for Cancer Rising as well, and I didn't say that. I never say that, or rarely. I should. So in the 8th house, this is going to affect your perhaps money that is shared with others. Perhaps you'll have to be the breadwinner. I'm not going to go too far into this, but this is kind of like easing up because Saturn's retrograde, going back into your 7th house, and it's going to be more about your relationships and working on them. So I just wanted to note this. I don't think this is a major influence because Saturn didn't get very far into Aquarius, but for anybody who feels, especially if your rising sign is Capricorn, and if you're or Aquarius, Cancer, and you're ruled by Saturn, this may be more important for you, this retrograde. But I think in general, it's actually, it could be somewhat of a good thing because it's just getting you to look at how finances affect you and other people. Maybe not, they say when Saturn is in the 8th house not to go into debt and things like that. And so all of these things are being restructured. But I even think for people who want to study things of a esoteric nature, the 8th house can be the secrets of the universe, metaphysics, psychology. Some of these things can intrigue you, attract you, but you may find that there are drawbacks to it, that there are limitations, and Saturn can be about the limitations of certain things. And it can be frustrating because, and I know this all too well, that I've had Saturn in this house too, is that, you really believe in certain aspects of anything. It's just like religion. You believe in certain aspects, but then on the other hand, there's always that part that you don't agree with. And then it kind of is bothersome because you feel like you're being a fraud if you don't believe something 100%. So it's hard to be a teacher or even a student when this occurs because you feel like this sense of like, ugh, I'm not sure that this is really the truth, and I don't know if I should invest my time in something that I'm not sure is the truth. And, for what it's worth, it's not necessarily the end of the world to have these situations occur. It can actually be very good because it can make you much more thoughtful about what it is that you're undertaking. And in this case, the 8th house being the area of, this is the house of death. But as I said, this can ease these restrictions that you feel. If you feel like, alone is like keeping you tied down, there may be something that is able to help you with that. Restructuring loans, for instance. Okay, and then on the 13th, we have Mars going into Pisces, another water sign, this time your 9th house in the opposite direction. So this can be, Mars in the 9th house is very activated in the area of higher learning, ambition for this, for whatever reason. So the 8th house is more like the occult, the 9th house is more organized religion. That's how I understand it and differentiate in terms of the spiritual influences of those two houses. And, again, if you're rethinking things, you may kind of go gung-ho about something that we would associate with the 9th house. But even understand about organized religion, I mean, even Hinduism, Buddhism is organized religion, and they have their own books, their dogma, and this could, to me, having Mars here could even be yoga, maybe yoga teacher training, something that has a physical component to it and is very even involving travel, because the ninth house can be long distance travel. And for sure, as things start to get eased up and people feel, opened up, and people are thinking, of travel, perhaps plans that they had to postpone, maybe these are on again, or at least you're kind of actively pursuing them. If you work in academia, there could be some kind of conflict with people in your sphere. I'm always like afraid of saying that word, sphere, where, and this, even if you're like a student, perhaps you're having some kind of conflict, even enrolling in classes. Hey, what happened? So the eighth house could be fighting for those resources. And then the ninth house is, fighting with the school, the university, I don't know, something like that. But the ninth house is also publishing, so very active in that area. Active spreading your beliefs about religion or what have you. Like evangelizing for some reason. I have this in my natal ninth house, and it makes a person a bit of a zealot. Although I don't know if I am an evangelist, but just in general, your beliefs, because the ninth house can be your beliefs. So something might be kind of putting a bee in your bonnet and making you more, active in that sense. What else is going on? What else is going on here? I lost my place. Okay. On the same day, the 13th, Venus goes retrograde in that 12th house. So this is kind of what I was talking about. I said there's a full moon in your 5th house. And the full moon itself can be very psychic and make a person very intuitive about things. And then you have this Venus retrograde in the 12th house, and Venus retrograde itself can bring back past loves into your life. Now, 12th house, hello, past. How about past lives, loves? So I don't know if that's connected to that 5th house moon, full moon, but that could be what's going on. I also think that, Venus retrograde can be about your values. These are your spiritual values, obviously, but really about your self-worth. And with the ninth house being an active place with Mars there, you may be going through a bit of a metamorphosis. For sure, you are, because now the North Node is in your sign. I'm actually recording this on the day that the North Node goes into your 12th house, Cancer. And this is, this switch over from Cancer to Gemini. This is a very important time, because this is, we for the last 18 months, we've had the North Node in your sign. So now you have it in the 12th house. So you for the next year and a half, be aware of anything that is going on that could be related to spiritual teachers coming into your life, opportunities for becoming a healer, becoming healed of past life karma. That is, and when I say karma, I'm not talking about you having to atone for sins or punishment. It's more, really, to tell you the truth, I think karma is more of the residue of the guilt of the, I did this in a past life and now I have to atone for it, because that tends to be the mentality of us in this Piscean age. Well, we're leaving this Piscean age, but I'm saying, in past lives, it was the Piscean age. Isn't every age 2,000 years? So in past lives, people may have felt like they were always in the wrong. They always had to atone for their sins. No, you really don't. You have to kind of just understand what you did wrong and truly see how it hurt others. The whole idea isn't about punishment, it's about realization. Of course, that's my opinion, but in any case, everyone has their own values when it comes to spirituality, what is most important to them, and also how it connects to their mundane life or their worldly life, which we have to live when we're in this world. We can't just be meditating all day. We have, physical things to attend to. So how do we do that part of life in a very graceful way is the real question, without losing the spiritual component, having that balance. And this is this is represented by the sixth house, the house of the daily grind, or the daily routine. You don't have any transits that I've written down here or typed out here that are from the sixth house, but that doesn't mean that it's not part of your life. The Venus, though, is like what how does this impact you, how you think about yourself based on maybe some of these things are repressed memories, things that are coming out with Mercury in that 12th house, and just realizing, with maybe some of you having that full moon in the 4th house, home and family, childhood, realizing how this has caused you to kind of what they call internalize certain beliefs that are just not serving you and that are not for you, that were never for you, that were always projections from somebody else. On the 14th, Jupiter goes retrograde. This is in the area of the significant other, the 7th house. Now, I have to say, Jupiter has also entered this arena. Boy, did we have a lot of, or I could say we do have a lot of planets in Capricorn. I said did because I was thinking how Saturn has now gone into Aquarius, but even Saturn is coming back into Capricorn. So this can be a situation, even if you're not, it has nothing to do with a significant other, where if you work for yourself and you have clients, maybe you're rethinking, maybe you're like thinking, I need quality, not quantity, because Jupiter can be about quantity. And when Jupiter is in your 7th house, you may attract a lot more clients to you. But sometimes people have found that that's not always a good thing, because if they don't have the right client, they can have problems with that person. Just because you have somebody that buys your services doesn't mean that they can't create problems for you. You know what I mean? I think anybody who has their own business understands this. So that may, especially if you're in a field or you offer services that have more of an emotional nature, or if you're a healer or something like that, and that may actually be something that impacts you and makes you rethink things, because in general, because you might say, wow, I'm a very sensitive person and I can't really take the drama from some of these people that have come into my life, and I'm not sure about this. Jupiter, like Venus, can be about your values, but it's more of the bigger picture with Jupiter, more of the, is this what I'm here to do? Is this positive? Am I really making a difference? And that kind of thing with these people that I'm working for, or with, you could say. In relationships, same thing, is this some kind of positive relationship? Is this a relationship that is adding to my spiritual well-being, or is it more adding to my finances? Because Jupiter in the seventh house, if you have it in your natal chart, you may marry somebody who is wealthy, or you may benefit from marriage. I mean, in general, that it makes you luckier in life. And so all of those things come into play. And then on the 22nd, we have a new moon at 2 degrees of Gemini. So that 12th house, new beginnings, maybe new understandings as it relates to this part of your life that may feel kind of like murky, may feel like it's not very clear, but it's very present in your life, and it's going to be a very significant emphasis on your life in the next year and a half. So please, the only thing I can say with the transiting North Node is just to be aware, be intentional in life, and see what is happening around you. Pay attention to little details. Think about how children always pick up on the littlest things. I'm always fascinated by how they notice the ladybug crawling on a leaf. And everybody else is just focused on their own, adults are focused on that internal dialogue of those the crap inside of your brain. But the children are full of wonder. Their senses are alive. And we can become like the children. Doesn't Jesus say that in the Bible? And some people, they take things literally and they go, what do you mean become like children? Because children are devalued in our society. But when you really observe how they are with open hearts and open minds, you realize that they have so much of their consciousness is focused on present moment awareness. And this is something that we can all benefit from. And I hope that, as you have this North Node in your 12th house, Cancer, that you will be able to see signs of your karmic direction. And actually, it's funny because the South Node is your karmic past. But I would say, the North Node is karmic too, because it's tied to the eclipses, and those are karmic. It's like, it's still what you have intended to do. Even if you've planned it out a long time ago, before you even came onto this earth plane, that in this period of time, you were going to do certain things. Now, it might not be something that you can flesh out 100%, but at the very basic level, you know that this is an important time for you. Maybe even what we would call a, I had such a dramatic pause, like a crossroads for you. And you have to, it's like you're at a crossroads, you're going into a new direction. And, even though it's spiritual and it's not from that practical side of life, it can have such an influence over your practical life as well. So anyway, thanks for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a natal chart interpretation, look at the transits that are coming up for you. Please, since it's your birthday and all that, please check me out at RenaMoonAstrology.com. The link is below. Thank you. Bye.